Hi everyone, and welcome to the TAC Community Circle. My name is Ajit Tiwari, and I'm standing right in front of the clock tower here at BITS Pilani. In the last two sessions, we introduced you to Lakshmi, a smallholder farmer who reminds us that digital agriculture is not just about code, it's about lives. Today, we are talking about how we help her through AgFx. AgFx is an effort to build a truly farmer first ecosystem. Our first focus crop is sugarcane, one of the most input sensitive and tightly controlled crops that farmers grow. It's where issues of water use, input costs, and delayed payments intersect most sharply. We use data and science to help farmers make better decisions, improve incomes, and reduce unnecessary input use. But here's the reality: technology alone does not work. Lakshmi adopts these tools not because of tech, but because of trust. This session is about how all of us, as volunteers, researchers, and creators, help build that circle of trust around her. Lakshmi is the face of this transformation, but it's the community that makes it sustainable. Let's dive into this ecosystem. I'd like to invite Sanjeev Rangras and Nipun Mehrotra, co-founders of TAC, to take this ahead.
Podcast that we're doing on YouTube Live. This time today, we are going to once again introduce TAC, and then we'll get on to one of our projects, AgFx. But I want to try and have a conversation with one of our co-founders, Sanjeev Rangras, who's on the screen, on how should we look at TAC from the eyes of Lakshmi. Who is Lakshmi? Lakshmi is a small farmer. She is the farmer that we work for. She is the farmer who inspires us. She represents maybe 100 million small farmers across the country. As you know, or you may know, may not know, more than 50% of Indian agriculture is done by women. So the face of Indian agriculture is very rapidly becoming feminized. So in that context, and I want to ask Sanjeev a few questions, and I want to introduce TAC from the eyes of Lakshmi. Sanjeev, as I said, is a co-founder of TAC, but he's also an investor. He was the big boss at ITC Agri. He was the CEO for 10 years. So he has got a fair amount of experience and an understanding of what happens on the ground. So with that, Sanjeev, let me ask you to share your thoughts on what actually goes on in the mind of Lakshmi. What really matters for Lakshmi? What are the things that keep her up at night?
Thanks, Nipun. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be on this YouTube Live. So, without getting into any fancy words, as I've spoken to several farmers across multiple crops in India, farmers, the first and foremost thing which Lakshmi is concerned with, four questions come to her mind, basically. Will I get the right inputs at the right time? And will I get a fair price? Will my crop survive? Will I be able to manage risks? So there are multiple thoughts. And we all know very well, perhaps, this is the riskiest profession in the country. So when she asks, will my crop survive? What is going on in her mind? Right? Water availability, pests and disease, soil health, all those things are going on. When I talk about, will I get the right inputs at the right time? She's talking about, will the seed quality be right? Will there be germination? Right? Will the fertilizer balance be okay? Will I get the right quality? Will I get a genuine fertilizer? And will I get advice which I trust? Will I get it over the phone, or will someone walk the farm with me? And the fair price, obviously, at the end of the whole cycle, when she has invested time, money, effort into it, she'll harvest. Will I get the right sort of people to help me in the field to harvest? When will I sell? Whether should I store or not? How much will traders deduct if I go through traders? So can you imagine the number of questions going on? And obviously credit, insurance, all these things are there. So she's battling about 10, 15, 20 questions in her mind. And that is the reality of Lakshmi, because for each one of them, she has to go to different people. There's no comprehensive way of addressing all of them in one place.
Thanks, Ajit. And look, and I know you invest a lot with startups and work a lot with startups as well. If we think a startup founder's job is complex, then try doing Lakshmi's job, right? And try doing it from a perspective where Lakshmi, by and large, is not as well educated, by and large, is not as well digitally literate, and normally, usually, doesn't have the money to do everything which she really wants to do, or she knows that is needed to be done, but she may not have that 5,000 rupees to do the right amount of right things, or buy the right fertilizer, or buy the right inputs, etc. Yeah. So thank you for that. I want to, and I know that digitalization is only one aspect of that impacts Indian agriculture, right? There are many, many aspects. There's mechanization, there's deep research that is needed, the quality of the seeds, as you described, the quality of
infrastructure that is required. Yeah.
The infrastructure, post-harvest storage, post-harvest warehousing, so that the produce can survive, etc. But when you look at it from a digitalization lens, and we know that digitalization has made a big impact in every other sector. The way we buy, the way we shop, the way we, use services like Blinkit and Swiggy and the others, etc. Digitalization has made an impact to all of us in general. But it is also fair to say that digitalization has not made as much of an impact to Lakshmi as it has to you or to me, right? So from your perspective, what does Lakshmi's life look like? Digitalization has not made when as much of an impact, maybe 10 years, 15 years, when we've made enough as progress it has to you and for you. And I'm not saying we should wait for 10, 15 years, but I'm saying that's a reality of solving a complex problem. What does that look like, Sajeev?
So let's look at the entire. So see, when we talk about startups, etc., quite a few of them straddle parts of the value chain. Someone will manage insurance, someone will manage import, someone will manage the output. Very few people are there who manage the entire value chain. So hence, what you find today are a lot of solutions which are point solutions. So Lakshmi today is surrounded by apps, portals, schemes, yet her outcomes don't change at all. Data is fragmented. Decisions are made today, actually decisions are made at state and national level, not at a block farm level. And that is where most things go wrong. All digitalization efforts today are failing or not effective because of these reasons, fragmentation and data not available at a farm level. So there are enough studies to show, enough experience to show that it does help in a point solution. But she can grow some terrific crop, but at the end of the day, when it comes to harvesting and selling, she doesn't find the storage. So the whole value chain is not managed. So the visualization is much like UPI Aadhaar. Can we digitize every single aspect of the farm, whether it is soil, whether it is water, whether it is weather? So imagine, someone did ask me this question yesterday, and the way we responded was, imagine that we have all the blood tests and all things done for the farm, for the crop, everything. The radiology done, the ultrasound done. Now, people can come in and leverage. So these data are reliable. Okay, so 10 years later, Lakshmi's reality is that every single data about a farm, the country, the schemes, everything is available. Someone just needs to come and say, hey, I can do this bit. Much like a cardiologist can come and take the heart report and give you the correct solution, we're expecting several doctors to come use the appropriate data and be able to offer her the right solution. And we imagine that in another 10 years' time, when all this data is available, this is what fundamentally I think we are all working towards, ensuring that the digitization happens in the entire ecosystem so that government, policymakers, innovators all work towards serving Lakshmi and are able to deliver this data pipeline to all the innovators.
So, Sajeev, we know that digitalization is complex. We know that. and we've, based on our experience with finance sector, and you mentioned Aadhaar, you mentioned UPI, etc. These are building blocks, right?
Yeah.
We needed Aadhaar, but Aadhaar itself was not sufficient. You needed UPI to do something. Then you need the linkage of Aadhaar with the bank account and the UPI with the bank account, etc. So you start to see a pattern. You build 3 or 4 building blocks, and suddenly magic starts to happen, right?
Absolutely.
And therefore, we are looking for those building blocks constantly in agriculture. What are those building blocks, as an example? I'm reminded of the workshop that you and I participated in a few months back in Bangalore, the AgFx conference, where we spent a lot of time understanding issues with digitalization. We spent time looking at some of the mega projects that have happened by the government and by others as well. Vistar was one, the AgriStack is there, etc. All credit to organizations for pushing forward and creating those visions, right? And pushing the infrastructure forward. But the reality is that the Lakshmi is still where she is, right? Lakshmi has not moved as dramatically as we thought that it moved, right? One of the things that I am reminded of that came up in that conference, and when farmers also spoke, said that they don't ask us what our problems are, etc. But can you just help us understand, Sanjeev, what are the other challenges? Why does digitalization fail, right? Why, from Lakshmi's context, why doesn't it work, right? It seems to work from a government's perspective. You see lots of headline news. We have done this, we have done that. Lots of headline news from private sector, from startups, from everyone else. But still, we're not scratching the surface. We're just barely scratching the surface. So what do you think?
So all these solutions, all these forums we attend, everyone will talk about aspects of digitalization. But let me tell you, no matter how many I attend, no one ever keeps Lakshmi at the center.
Right.
Solutions are being made for solution's sake. So I always tell people digitalization is not the goal.
Right.
To me, that is not the goal.
Right.
It is farmer income, Lakshmi's income, Lakshmi's resilience, and her dignity are the goal. As
Correct.
long as we keep that at the epicenter of all our efforts, things will happen. So our attempt also, which you and I work towards, is to make digitalization work where it matters, at the district block farm level, for farmers like Lakshmi. Only then we are successful. Otherwise, the entire effort is pointless. And digitalization does not speak to Lakshmi. All that speaks to Lakshmi is the correct advice which comes to her. What it uses as digitalization in the background, she's not concerned about it. It only helps the system around Lakshmi make better decisions and then offer her that so that she can move forward and perhaps build a more profitable future for herself.
So very nicely put, Sanjeev. So it's technology should not be, we should not lead with technology. We should lead with the farmer's challenges, what the farmer needs and what the farmer can benefit from and how can the farmer benefit, and technology is enabler. Very often we reverse that. And I see that very often when people come up with a new platform and a new gizmo or a new technology. Ashutosh and I were with a few sugar mills in Nasik, and where the chairman of the mill said, I want an AI-based solution. And we were asking him, why an AI-based solution? If AI is AI really needed to solve your problem, or can we solve it through simpler means? But you're absolutely right. We need to put farmer ahead of everything else, and Lakshmi's needs, and do that. So with that, let me summarize what Sanjeev said, but in the context of TAC. And the Agri Collaboratory was co-created by all of us and several other founding partners, founding organizations 3.5 years back. And we looked at what is happening, and we looked at the silos that are there. We looked at the different, as Sanjeev said, the point solutions that people are coming up with, the point solutions that people are focused on. We looked at those issues. We looked at the fact that people are putting technology ahead of the farmer, etc. And we said there are some guiding principles that should motivate the Agri Collaboratory. The first one is that we are a non-compete organization. We do not want to create one more silo. We'd rather work with everybody here. And most of the organizations who work with us are for-profit organizations. So we want to work with organizations around the country, around the world, as appropriate, to help accelerate solutions for agriculture. So we are a non-compete organizations. Of course, we are a non-profit organization as well. We don't have any vested interest in this, but our job and our role and our motivation is to see if we can try accelerate solutions for Lakshmi. So that's one. Second, we are Lakshmi focused. We are small farmer focused, right? Second, we are use case driven, problem solving driven. We like to solve problems, right? We are not interested in working behind anything if it is not a genuinely important problem for Lakshmi, right? And therefore, number three is really that we are an ecosystem builder, right? We do not even pretend that we have the answers to everything or we know how to solve things. No, we can't. We can't. And by the way, I believe that's true for many organizations around the country as well. None of them are able to solve Lakshmi's problems if they stay and solve it just by themselves. So we believe that by forming an ecosystem, by coming together, a community can solve challenges far more easily than any one organization, even if it is the government or even if it is the World Bank or any other institution around the world, right? So that's who we are. We are working on three problems for Lakshmi. The first problem is what we're going to spend time today is really talking about how can we accelerate benefit to Lakshmi in terms of money for her income and things like that in a balanced manner, along with the earnings that the people around her make and how the ecosystem benefits. And by the way, also impacting climate. So improving the climate while benefiting Lakshmi. The second use case, which Sanjeev has been leading for the last 2 years, is really saying, what is happening in digitalization? We recognize, as Sanjeev said, the importance of digitalization, but we also recognize that there is no standard way of benchmarking it. There's too much of duplication happening between the states. Assam doesn't know what Telangana is doing. Telangana doesn't know what Tamil Nadu is doing, etc. So how can we bring things together? How can we assess what is happening in digitalization? And that's really the second big use case that we picked up, which is to try and help people understand what is happening and therefore use that assessment to guide the flow of resources, money, etc. down the line. So that when you look for something to do and you're looking for, and I want to work on Odisha, then in Odisha, what is the status? What is happening, right? Where is Odisha lagging? Where is Odisha leading? The third use case is on post-harvest management, trying to reduce the post-harvest losses and working on digitalization of the entire ecosystem after the farm gate. Right. With that, let me thank Sanjeev for helping us introducing us to Lakshmi and sharing what matters to Lakshmi. Thank you so much. I will now move to the second segment of today's conversation, which is on project AgFx. And with that, I'd like to request Ashutosh and Shrikala to switch on their cameras. Ashutosh is a co-founder in the Agri Collaboratory, along with me and Sanjeev and others, and he leads the AgFx project. Shrikala is a founder of a startup called the Farmitopia, doing some excellent work in agronomy, and we'd like to kick off in a conversation with Ashutosh and Shrikala together. So Ashutosh, from your perspective, and you have done a lot of work understanding what Lakshmi needs, but on the ground, from a finance standpoint, from a market standpoint, agronomy, etc. Right? But if you just focus on one important gate for Lakshmi, which is access to money, right? Can we just discuss that a little bit? what kind of money is needed through the crop cycle, what how important is insurance for Lakshmi, and what is the reluctance? Why is this still so much of an issue? I know there are lakhs and lakhs of crores of money that is given out by NABARD and by others, etc. Why do small farmers still struggle very often when maybe the urgency is needed and there's something that needs to be done? It needs money tomorrow morning or needs money next week or next month. Why do they still struggle? Over to you, Astosh.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. And Nipun, that was a long question. And I guess like you and Sanjeev were discussing, if we keep Lakshmi in the center, let's be, clear on one part that she is the one who can deliver the maximum results. So when you talk about agricultural yield increase, everybody else feeds on to what Lakshmi and her friends generate. In fact, I was remembering the photograph that you shared from Cochin Biennial, where you had, one sort of very abstract picture where you had probably 15 arms trying to, eat from the same hand. Right? So that's Lakshmi for us. But while she can make the maximum impact, and she and her friends are the most vulnerable, they don't have the ability to take risk, and they live hand to mouth. So all the good stuff that we talk about, digital, do this, try this, agronomy input, etc. In the beginning, you need cash. Agri produces result and money is needed through the crop cycle. In the beginning, you need to prepare the field. After that, you need to buy the right kind of seeds. Then you need the fertilizers. Then you need the pesticides. Then you need labor for harvesting. So every stage of crop cycle, you need money. And money for Lakshmi comes much later when the harvesting is done and God knows when they get paid. So, and even after they get paid, money gets consumed by, their daily needs, the loan, etc. they have taken. So because the money is needed through the life cycle and they live hand to mouth, they literally have no leeway to do anything new. So that's the big challenge. So not only do we have to look at the need for money, we have to look at the right timing. And they live hand to, and they don't, unlike us, they don't live online. They don't have a bank ATM 2 minutes away, right? They need to keep cash safe. So their need for money is in small installments as and when needed. So that's from their side. And of course, when the crop is ripe and they are harvesting, if some adverse events happen, all the effort is gone. So definitely they need insurance. Now, you asked a question as to why, despite so much of talk about loans being given, etc., why is it that it is not reaching Lakshmi? So 3-4 things. Number one, that, because agri is a risky game, and despite Government of India and the RBI and NABARD saying a lot of things, the bank does not have the feet on the street to figure out what's going on. Right. So they need some collateral. They need to know whether Lakshmi is actually a farmer or somebody impersonating her. So somebody needs to go around, check. Right. This land holdings are very small. Then what happens is that when the loan is given, banks have to worry about recovery. So they have no idea whether the loan has been used for this purpose or something else. So there's no visibility at all. And like I said, their feet on the street are limited. So they don't have the wherewithal to go run around, check what is going on. Right? So they feel this pinch. And then they turn to collaterals. And because the land holding is in somebody else's name, this is 3rd generation, 4th generation, split into 5 family members, etc. The land record papers, documents are not good enough. And even if they are, bank will take enormous amount of time to check. So they'll make, Lakshmi run around, come tomorrow, officer is on leave, go get this no objection certificate here and there. Now, Lakshmi, would she be running around to bank or would she be taking care of her farm? Right? So that's where they say that, look, the cost and effort required to take this money and the sheer timing that you are asking me all kind of questions when I really need the cash. That's where the imbalance is. So on paper, it looks very nice. But when you start putting the process in the play, and the process takes 2-3 weeks, and some money to go to city or bank 2-3
That's where
times and get this document, get this duplicate copy, etc., etc. It doesn't play out. So effectively, what happens is that if Lakshmi wants a loan of 40,000, if the pre-processing cost itself is 4,000 rupees, or it takes 3 weeks for her to get that, it makes no sense to her. So that's where we are. Shikala, if you want to add anything, you have been on the ground, you've seen what goes on. So more than welcome to join in.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. And I completely agree with you, Ashutosh, on what you said. That is ground reality. I mean, I don't have to repeat it again. Now, I'd like to spin this a little more, Ashutosh, to talk about. Now, imagine if the financial institution actually had the wherewithal to know Lakshmi is growing sugarcane and she's got 1 acre of land and she will need 10,000 rupees to get her initial set of seeds or whatever she's putting. And then her fertilizer requirement cycle will happen on 18th of February and 31st of February. Then the bank also will feel much better and well positioned to be able to help her. Or else they're always wondering, I mean, there's a kid getting married in the house, they'll use the money for that. Now, to stop all this, if we have this system, and that is what, Nipun, when you're talking about TAC working with everybody in the ecosystem, is if there is data exchange between Lakshmi and what's happening in Lakshmi's farm with the financial institute at a micro level, I think the way they look at collaterals, the way they look at risks could change completely. So if we bring about that change, this need for finance can be handled in a much more scientific and a value-added manner. I think this could make a big difference, Ashutosh, to what you talked about.
That was a great insight.
Very well said.
And you are on ground, so you see what's happening. So.
True. I mean, that's what they get the money when they don't quite need it as much. And when they really need it, the plant is growing. She has to put gibberellic acid today so that it grows to the exact height. But she doesn't have money. And then she puts it 3 days later. And if she puts it 3 days later and she gets the money, the plant cycle is gone. I mean, the whole physiology has to be worked out. And I think that's where technology can come in.
So, Nipun, if I could pick up a couple of points from what Shrikala called out and to translate it for our audience. Number one is that agricultural nature doesn't wait for you. Right? So their timeline don't wait for bank, for paper processing, photocopy, approval, etc., etc. Right? So they need, as she said, I need now, I need in plus minus 1 or 2 days. That's it.
Yeah.
Number two, what happens is that all of us are used to taking loan in a bullet shot. You take a bulk loan, 50,000 for your bike or 10 lakh for your house, whatever. And we pay in installment, in EMI. With the farmers, it is the other way around. They need money in installments. 2,000 now, 5,000 then, 4,000 later, etc., etc. And when the harvesting happens, they want to make a bullet payment. And our banking ecosystem is geared towards the personal loan and home loan and education loan, where you take the money and you keep paying in EMI. So I think somewhere that also plays up.
Correct. Yeah. So I know there are many initiatives that are being discussed on 10-second loans, just like this 10-minute delivery, etc. Like 10 seconds loan gets approved within 10 seconds, etc. But the fact is that most of them are renewals. Most of them are renewing an existing loan transaction that has been done by the bank with a particular farmer. There are very few fresh loans that are actually done within a few minutes. Forget 10 seconds. Even if it's done within 10 hours is good enough, right? But there are very few loans that are done in that manner. I'm also reminded of there was a meeting that we had with farmers in Assam, and we asked a question: how many of you have actually approached the government or approached a bank for a loan? Out of 40 farmers sitting in the room, only one hand went up. Then we asked, why are the others not interested in it? So they tried this, that, etc. They don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. They get thrown around by the bureaucracy. As a result, they give up and said they're not even interested to try. Rather go to a middleman, go to a money lender and take some money or borrow money from an input seller or something like that and go forward, right? What is the average salary that I'm asking you a question, Shrikala, because the average loan size in the country is 67,000 rupees. That is the actual average loan transaction distributed across the country, it up or down depending on the region. What is the average income that a farmer makes from your perspective?
So your 67,000 now makes me wonder whether I should put a value to it at all or not, because it is just commensurate to the loan amount that you're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. So then that puts you into question. I mean, imagine you are on a loan amount that is going to be your income.
Correct. And that's why I wanted to raise this point, because the average income of a small farmer is somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 rupees a month.
True.
So very often they're all on subsistence basis. But thank you for that, Ashutosh and Shrikala. Let me move on. This time I'll ask you a shorter question, Ashutosh. So tell me, just in a few sentences, what is it that AgFx, what are you trying to achieve with AgFx?
The short answer is very difficult. So, we talked about farmers being, and Lakshmi being most vulnerable, and, now the thing is that when you look at agriculture, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
You have farmer, input seller, buyer, lender, etc., etc. Now, what has been happening is that in this system, if people don't make sufficient money, then everybody will fight and grab their share. And over the last 8 or 10 years, what has happened is that if you adjust for inflation, that has not changed. So whatever people talk about, and Sanjeev called it out very nicely, he said nobody thinks about Lakshmi. Everybody is trying to see how can I get my piece of cake out of this. What we are trying to show people is that, look, first let's grow the cake. Right? If the cake grows, you get your share, and then there will be enough for Lakshmi. So this pool will grow when everybody works together. The farmer, the people who provide them agronomy advice, people who give them fertilizer, input, etc., bank who give timely loan, and buyer. So in our current project, what we're trying to do is that we're tying up all this and making sure that this works out. And the reason I said buyer, because what happens is that all of us have heard the stories about farmers producing and then price crashing. So suppose you double your yield and the price of tomato, price of onion, price of whatever goes down, then poor farmer doesn't even have the money to transport the damn thing into the mandi and recover money, right? So in our case, what we picked up this sugarcane crop, where there is good buying potential, mills are willing to buy, rate doesn't change. So if in this ecosystem, farmer, input providers, agronomy providers, lenders, and the mill come together, produce more, everybody will make money. And that's what we are trying to, and long term, it becomes a virtuous cycle where everybody does well. I hope I didn't take too much time trying to explain.
No. I was asking a short question. You can take as much time as you want to answer, but can you quantify that a little bit in terms of objectives? So from a farmer, from Lakshmi's standpoint, what does she stand to?
Oh yeah, so let's say I'll give a very quick Lakshmi-centric answer here. So today, if she has, let's say, 1 acre farm, right? What we are, and growing sugarcane, average yield in the country is 30 tons per acre, right? And that means at the current rate, on an average, she'll earn an income of 1 lakh rupees, and taking out her expenses, etc., probably she'll be left with about 25,000-30,000 rupees. Now it is sort of proven in multiple examples that sugarcane yield can be taken to 60. And in fact, there are examples of people doing 75, 90, even 150. These are all simple stuff, right? So what we are saying is that if suppose Lakshmi has to invest a little bit, maybe 15,000-20,000 rupees, and do all the stuff rightly, it's possible for her yield to go from 30 tons to, let's say, 45, 50, 60. In which case, her net earning can be doubled. Right? So if she really goes to 60 tons, which is possible, and we can say that in 3 years of support, we can take her from 30 to 60, her income will double from 1 lakh to 2 lakh. And her profit will grow up from, let's say, 35,000 to maybe 60, 70, 75. That's where we are. And of course, I can aggregate that for you for more farmers and stuff, but we
That's
can
fine.
talk
That's
about
fine.
it
But
later.
let's say individual farmer. Any other benefits to Lakshmi?
Yeah. So what happens is that other thing that is happening is that because, you know, you put water on the soil and, soil doesn't breathe. So the field is flooded all the time. Algae grows, moss happens, and and fertilizer used getting indiscriminately. Soil quality is going down. So in fact, we know examples of why that 30 tons is there and it's stuck there is because soil quality has deteriorated over the years. So what we are doing is that we are suggesting practices by which water consumption can be reduced significantly, fertilizer consumption can be reduced significantly, and still the yield will go up. So it's a climatic, soil conservation benefit and income increase. All the things can be done together.
Very good. Shikala, I know you've been on the ground at Nasik and working on a couple of pilots there. So can you help us understand what is happening? Can you help the listeners understand the pilot and what are you trying to achieve as a part of AgFx?
Yeah, sure. So specifically talking about, I think Ashutosh is in broad, he's covered most of what is being done in sugarcane. But you're talking about the Nashik project in particular.
Yes.
Very interesting situation there. People are moving very quickly to grow crops like onion and tomatoes because it's quick cash. I mean, it relates to your first question as well. Like in 3 months, they get some amount. Not necessarily more amount or not necessarily better outcome or ROI. But because the cash is quick, they're moving there and a lot of people are moving away from sugarcane. So one of the objectives with which we started this project is how can we get people back to growing sugarcane. Sugarcane can be a very profitable crop. Keeping in mind what Ashutosh was talking, there are a lot of improvements that can be done and the income can be doubled. So that's an objective with which we've started this project. Second thing we realized to subgroup what Ashutosh is talking about, you want him or her to move from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs. So what do? One way is yield has to increase. So can I work towards more scientific processes by which you can ensure that the yield increases as time goes by? So that's one of the objectives with which we started the current project, which means that you need foot on the ground to tell, look here, the gap that you've given between these two is very less. Even if this plant grows, they'll be fighting for nutrients and your girth won't be high or your internodal distance won't be high. So can you create an ecosystem which help them understand this and yields can increase? The third thing is, again, as the objective of AgFx is, there are people in the ecosystem with different objectives. So if you have an input provider there and he's selling urea, he'll ask a simple question, how many acres? 1 acre, take 15 boras and go. Now, does that soil really need 15 boras of urea for his basal dose or for his top dressing? The input provider has no clue. And the cost just escalates because there are other people with different motives who are wanting to sell things. So the objective of this pilot is to ensure that the cost of cultivation is scientifically brought down. Fourth is, the question is, okay, you're telling me all this, okay, I'll grow more, but who's going to buy? What if, like tomato prices, it comes down to 2? So what we've done in this project is we've tried to integrate the grower, the producer, the processor, so that there is a story end to end. Hey, if you're growing, here is a sugar karkhana which is going to buy from you, who's going to give you the right amount, which is prefixed. And it's a win-win for the karkhana as well, or the sugar factory as well, because they kind of shut down when they don't get enough of sugarcane coming in. And it's a huge amount of cost to shut down and restart, etc. So we've tried to do this whole chain so that when you do this, it's like what Ashutosh said, the cake is big. And when you show the bigger cake, everybody gets a piece of the pie. And that's our intent. And apart from that, what I'm seeing now is the nice communities that are getting built. Just because they're all growing sugarcane, they're talking, they're discussing it over their evening in the temple. I mean, all this is happening. And that's a benefit that we've not thought of, but that's also now an intent to make these communities.
So is the Karkhana, is the sugar mill participating? Number one. Number two, how many farmers are you reaching out? How are you working with right now, etc.? Just give us a sense of where is this happening in Nasik?
Okay. So this is places which are anywhere between 50 to around 100 kilometers in the radius of Nashik.
Just give us a sense of
So currently we're working in 15 villages and we intend to make it to around 25 to 30 villages in the coming few months. Currently we have close to around 250 farmers with around a similar, I think, 280 acres of land that we're working with. We intend to move it in the next 2 months to more than 500 acres because it's given us a good view on, people are seeing benefit. You're getting calls back telling, hey, I've left my land fallow. I've not been doing anything. Can I grow sugarcane now? So these are the small differences that we are able to
Very
see.
good.
And that's what we intend to reach.
And what about the Karkhana? What about the sugar mill? Who's working with you?
The sugar mill is very, very closely working with us. In fact, it's very interesting. They had people in their team of close to 14, 15 people who used to just go to see, has the sugarcane grown well enough for the Karkhana? We've equipped all of them with technology so that they can go and give advisory there as well. So, currently they're happy because their job profile has changed, the sudden respect that they're seeing, and they're seeing value in what they're doing. Farmer is extremely interested in listening to these people because they know that they're giving customized advisory. And the Karkhana is completely aligned. In fact, they're calling us now telling that, we'll call all the farmers. Why don't we have a mela? Why don't you talk to all of them? So completely
wonderful. That's exactly the kind of network effect that we are looking for, because this pilot is a relatively small pilot given the fact that India has 6 million sugarcane farmers, right? So it's a relatively small pilot. But the idea is to demonstrate that a network impact can happen by people coming together. You can actually provide collective improvement for everyone in the ecosystem, most importantly for Lakshmi, but for everyone in the ecosystem as well. But my next segue, Ashutosh, is from Nasik to the country. How do we expand it? How do you plan to expand it?
Yeah, Nipun, I think, Srikala was nicely calling out that the sugar mill is interested and excited. Now, one of the reasons why they are doing this is also that apart from yield, they also get predictability. They know exactly which field, when to harvest. Sugarcane, it doesn't look like that, but it's a very, delicate crop at the time of harvesting. You have to cut it at the right time, transport it, otherwise sugar content and everything, goes down. So mill is seeing dual benefit. They're seeing that they get more cane to process, plus they're able to time it right so that they'll get good yield of sugar out of that. Now, the way sugarcane ecosystem is organized is that we have about 450 mills across the country, working active mills. And each mill has a defined catchment area. And they are required by law to buy from farmers within that catchment area. So one of the most interesting points for us was to make sure that the mill gets excited about the possibilities. Other thing that has happened, and like Srikala called out, mills people are engaged with the farmer for maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Since then, they've been buying. So there is already an engagement of trust. They don't know us. Srikala, Ashutosh, who are they coming from Bangalore, don't speak local Marathi, but they, meet us once in a while. Why should we listen to them? Right? So the transfer of trust that happens through the mill connect, that's a very, very, very key ingredient in this mix. So mill brought that in. Now the way we want to grow is that if you are able to make this mill realize that there is money to be made in this by them, right? Then we will take this as an exemplar to other mills, saying that, look, this progressive mill in Nashik has done this, that they have 20,000 farmers. We have shown to them how this model works. Why don't you do it in your own mill? So our this is one agroclimatic zone in Nashik. There are multiple. You have Coimbatore area, you have Madurai, you have North Karnataka, you have Western UP, all of them, right? Haryana. So what we want to do is go catch other progressive sugar mills, show them, demonstrate to them this model works. Everybody benefits, both socially, politically, and psychologically, plus financially, and encourage them to come along with us. And you and I were talking to one sugar mill in, UP, and remember how they were saying that they find it difficult to scale. Right? So our entire game is scaling. So the use of technology, that technology for the farmers, technology for the agronomy advisor, technology for the mill cane officers, as they are called, that technology makes it scalable. And of course, also for the bank. So whatever is happening here is full visibility for the bank as well. So everybody sees and everybody benefits. And that's how we'll quickly replicate from one mill catchment area to another and multiply. That's
I guess the template, once you prove the template in one place, then you've got a template that you can take it forward, etc.
Absolutely.
Question is, how do we scale it rapidly enough? Is a big question mark. We'll have to keep working on that and working with different people, etc., to get that done.
So we are hoping that our mill will become our spokesperson. So yeah, this works for us. And nobody is better than a mill to tell another mill saying that I actually benefited financially. So we are really looking forward to the mill reaping benefit and then being our, sort of referral point, if you will.
So if a farmer has an income that goes up from 1 lakh to 2 lakhs, etc., that's good, and saves water, a couple of million liters of water per acre, etc., all that is very good. Reduces cost by pesticide and lower pesticide and lower fertilizer usage, etc., because the soil is anyway toxic. So therefore, why put in 10 boras when you don't need 10 boras, right? But what do the numbers look like, Ashutosh, at a country level? How
numbers are mind-boggling. So let me play it out for you for one mill, and then we can multiply. So I'm taking for simple calculations, I'm using a number of 50,000 acres of cultivation. And the reason for that I'm doing is that across India, we have about 5 to 6 million farmers who grow sugarcane, and about 8 to 10,000 or so many hectares, right? 8 to 10,000 acres. So once I do it for 50,000, we can quickly multiply and get into 5 million farmers, right? So if you take an area covered of 50,000 acres, right, and assume that national average is 30, I'm assuming that even after 3 years, we've gone from 30 to only 45. Not talking 60 right now, just 50% improvement. With that, in this one mill catchment area, within 1 year, for one given year, right, farmers' revenue increase will be more than 250 crores. Mill's revenue increase will be 330 crores. And input providers along in that area will be able to sell about 100 crore worth of more smarter things. The micronutrients, the irrigation ideas, drip irrigation, this, that, another, right? So net, for that catchment area, one mill, 50,000 acres, revenue increase of about 675 crores in a single year.
For the mill?
For all the three put together. Farmer plus mill, input supplier, revenue for all of them goes up 675, profit goes up more than 200 crores.
Okay, and how much does the farmer benefit out of that?
Farmer benefit out of that is about 100 crores.
Out of the profit of 200 crores?
Yes.
Right, and out of the income of 675, it will probably be 300, 350. 350 crores, okay. All right, so
and
that's
now, so this is 50,000, multiplied by 10, you get for 5 lakh, multiplied by 100. You see the mind-boggling number. And the challenge is that it requires that initial capital and somebody to tie it up together. That's where the game is.
Right. No, I think one of the ways, when we spoke earlier on scaling it, one of the ways to scale it is to make it commercially viable for everyone. So create a commercially kind of viable project so that anybody can come in. I mean, if there's an entrepreneur who comes in, say in Punjab, and works with a sugar mill in Punjab in the catchment area of 50,000 acres, etc., then if you create a template, create a cookie cutter approach, then that entrepreneur can set it up in that region, because you can't have one person setting up across the country.
Correct.
You have it done in Punjab.
Yeah.
And these numbers are probably the same across the country. They may vary 10%.
Yeah, very
up
plus
and down.
minus 10%, but that's
Right.
okay.
But with that commercial model, they can scale it out within a mill. So I think we have to explore those kind of ideas.
Yes.
That how do we parallelize this so that in our lifetime change happens?
Yeah. So Nipun, as you were speaking, literally thinking on the feet, we are talking about in project. You have large companies like L&T and Tata Projects and all that, who have project implementers. They bring everybody together and make things happen. We need some kind of an entrepreneur who ties up all this and puts the initial money.
Right. So, I'm just cognizant of time as well, Ashutosh. So you're right. And TAC will play the role of being the evangelist and creating the template and creating the model in a non-compete, non-vested format.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, it has to be taken forward in a commercial model. We believe that unless you can put a commercial lens to solving problems, the problems don't stay solved.
Yep.
They get unstuck maybe 2 years, 5 years later, etc.
Yeah.
I want to just be sensitive on time, and I wanted to ask you one question, which is that sugarcane, I think, is in some ways it's a complex crop, but in some ways it's an easier crop because the sugar mill is so important and pivotal to the sugarcane ecosystem. But how do you think we can think about scaling it in other crops? Can you just take 30 seconds and maybe a quick...
Shikala, can you take a stab at it and then I'll chime in?
Okay, sure. So I'd like to talk about it from two perspectives. One is having frameworks like what the AgFx has put in, because that's the only way you can envision and envisage something that can become commercial, because you're looking at all multidisciplinary, looking at all ecosystem players and making it work. The second thing is using technology, not for the sake of technology, but soulful technology that can actually abstract pathology of the plant, entomology of the plant, the actual plant physiology, so that you can make crop models. So today it's sugarcane, tomorrow it may be pomegranate or it may be guava. You should be able to create with technology crop models which can actually be replicated and used across any of the other crops as well. So technology and frameworks like AgFx.
Perfect. Thank you. Ashutosh?
Yeah, I think one big factor is, like I said, we have to stop treating agriculture like one monolithic game. It's like sports. You don't transform sports, right? You do it in cricket, then you do in football, then you do in kabaddi, etc., etc. Same thing, we have to look at ecosystem by ecosystem, crop by crop. And in every crop, we have to look for how to complete the ecosystem, making sure that the buyer is there at the end, and buyer and from the seed to the shelf. If you are able to complete the cycle and show everybody that come together and all of us will make money, I think the reason why we chose sugarcane is that it was that buyer angle was a little sorted out. In other crops, we will probably use this to go to the buyer and say, come along with us. We will predict and make sure that you have a regular year-long supply, and you help us
right
backward and make it happen. So that's the way. So I think put it right from the agronomy and that point of view. I'm just bringing in the market angle to that. And of course, finance is the key.
And both are important, both are critical, but creating models that can be scaled is something that we should aspire.
I just wanted to, before we wrap up, we have so many people here. They must be wondering where do they come in, right? So in Shikala was talking about plant pathology, she was talking about agronomy, she was talking about various ways to, irrigation, cultivation, harvesting. We have so many startups and so many people doing brilliant work in each of these pieces, right? Thanks to AgFx, we now have connect with the entire ecosystem. If any startup has an idea that enhances the yield or does protection or makes it better to process, we are more than happy to bring them along. I think startups and people have a challenge reaching out, getting to the right buyer and having finance. I think through AgFx we can tie that in. So most welcome as people can join in and add to this project.
Wonderful, Ashutosh, because you're right. And Sanjeev also mentioned it earlier that point solutions don't work. We need solutions that are holistic. But then a startup cannot build a holistic solution. There are so many parts of the solution that one startup cannot really cover everything. So it's a collection of startups, it's a collection of people who come together. So my request, my message to everyone listening in and everyone who listens to this later is that, look, we are a volunteer-led organization. We are passionate about what we can solve, and the potential of solving some of those issues is, as Ashutosh said, mind-boggling. Things can be done in agriculture, but they need a different approach, right? So we certainly would welcome all skills, all kinds of volunteers, people who are either startups or people who are willing to give a few hours of their time on a weekly basis, monthly basis. You could have domain expertise. You could have technology expertise. You could be working on the ground and provide that perspective. You could be a marketing and a communications guru, and you can help us propagate AgFx far more faster to the 450 other sugarcane mills, right, etc. Or you could be a wizard in research and policy, and you could help translate some of the learnings from AgFx pilots into interventions that can be done at a country level, right? So thank you so much, and please do write in with feedback. Please do write in with comments and how do you wish to participate with us. With that, Adit, I'll pass it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks everyone for joining the stream. We'll end now. Thank you everyone.